Hello YouTube. Hello. We're back again with another speed lab. Of course, I mean I'm kind of planning on doing everyone more or less. I don't know how many I have already. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not counting. But yeah, Hwoarang is our next one. So get ready for a long one, boys. I already said that I was not looking forward to labbing Hwoarang, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Just gotta do what you gotta do. Chris, thank you for following. So yeah, let's lab this character. So this matchup in general isn't too bad for us in the one regard, but it's pretty bad for us in the second regard. So let's talk about both of those points, right? It's okay for us because the thing is, Kaz's electric keep out is pretty good against Hwoarang in a way. But a lot of things that Hwoarang can do can still close the gap with you being afraid of electrics, right? So electric keep out is good because one of the few things Hwoarang has that can, you know, come in while being safe from electrics is down back 3. Maybe down 4, I'm not sure if this actually crushes electrics, I don't remember. But yeah, down back 3 is one of them. Let me actually check down 4. It does, yeah. Down 4 being also one of them. Yeah, down 4 is also, you know, minus 17 by itself. Down 4 is also punishable if you do block it. And down back 3 is also one of them, which, you know, the high crushing low, which is also minus 13, which for Kaz it means twin pistons, right? So that's a plus that we have in this matchup, that we can actually keep using our keep out electrics, and if the Hwoarang player doesn't use timing correctly or just whiff punishes, they will have to risk something like this or this, which most good Hwoarang players, to be honest, won't do. What they will do is they'll bait your electrics, basically. And that goes the second point of why it's bad. Actually, there are 3 points. The second point why it's bad is that these electrics, while they're good as keep out, they're also very easily punishable by good Hwoarang players, just because a move like this exists. So they have one of the best whiff punishers in the game. If not the best. I don't know if this is the best one. I don't know what might be the best one. But this is up there. It's basically up there. Back 3 is a very easy button. Very easy. With basically infinite range. It has a lot of range. Like, look at the range, right? 2.7 it still hits. Maybe 3. Okay, not that much. It's like 2.7 range. That has a lot of range. It's mid. And it does a lot of damage. I don't know the actual damage for this. Maybe you do something like this. I'm not sure, right? Whatever you do, the damage actually is pretty good if you do the right combo. But yeah, I don't remember the combo here. So you have to be very careful about the electric keep outs, because as I said, good Hwoarang players will just launch you for the whiff. It's not easy and it's risky for the Hwoarang player to do it, but they can do it. And it's pretty fucking scary. It's very scary. And the third point I wanted to talk about is that since you're scared of electricking against Hwoarang players because their whiff punishment is so good, like, right? They can actually close the distance way easier now. So that's the third point that I wanted to make, that it's actually not as good. Like, 1, electrics are good, but 2, electrics can be very risky, and 3, if you're scared of the electrics, then the Hwoarang player just comes close, and Hwoarang player being close to you is a big no-no. You don't want Hwoarang this. You don't want Hwoarang here. No, you don't want this. Because you don't want this, right? You do not want this happening to you. You just don't. +5 jab, hell sweep, another mid with the mind game high. You don't want this. Not at all. I'm going to be talking about the mix-ups and stuff a little bit later, especially when I go into the stances, like this right flamingo stance, left flamingo stance, right foot forward stance, when I talk about these, right? So I think those are the 3 stances I have to talk about. Other than that, for now, let's talk about the neutral tools. So, Hwoarang. Hwoarang is one of those characters that have a lot of tools in his disposal. And by a lot, I mean a lot. Like, when I actually just go through his move list, there are 156 moves. That is a lot. Man even has a punch parry. So, he has almost anything that you need. If you need something, he most likely has it. Like, he even has a punch parry, as I said. But 156 moves, that's a lot. So, let's talk about the good moves. Let's talk about one generic move, down forward 1, which is also really strong to have. And Hwoarang players might have used this a lot. And this down forward 1 is really good because it actually has very good tracking. So it fully tracks to the right, like fully. You can't even sidewalk it. And it tracks to the left if you just sidestep it. But you can sidewalk this. So down forward 1 check can be really good. Because it also recovers quickly because, you know, it's a generic down forward 1. But the biggest thing about this move is that it tracks really well. And I mean really well. Perfect throw game? Yes, he also has a perfect throw game. As I said, if you think about it, he basically has everything. Basically. So yeah, down forward 1 is very E50 step. It's +6 on block. And as I already showed, not +6 on block, on hit. It's -1 on block. So the -1 property is very big because usually -1 down forward 1s usually don't have a follow-up. But Hwoarang is one of the exceptions of this. Down forward 1-3 is a mid follow-up from down forward 1, which is also -2 and transitions into left flamingo. Right? Like that. What -2 means here, it's not actually safe because he cannot block it here. If you 1-1-2, it's a punish. If you 1+2, it's a punish. You can actually punish this. But it's a mind game on block, so what do I mean by that? There's a lot of these in the game. Now, I think there are way more of mind games on block moves in Tekken 8 than it was in Tekken 7. But this was a thing in Tekken 7 as well. So, what do I mean by mind game on block? When you block this, it is technically punishable because he can't block in this stance. But what he can do is power crush in this stance, so something like this. If you do try to punish it, the power crush will get you, especially if you do something like a big punisher like 1+2 for example, right? That will get you. If you 1-1, you'll actually be able to block this, which is a good thing to do. If you 1-2, it won't work. I tried 1-4-3 right now, right? It doesn't work, too slow. But if you 1-2, you can also block this. So that's okay. But you actually take more chip damage than he does in this situation. Right? If you look at the health bars, you're actually in lower health situation. So it's still not that good for you. Of course, you can do a throw, which I think is one of the best options you can do here. So if you do this, and he does this power crush, and you do a throw, let's say I do a generic 1+2 throw, right? This one. This is guaranteed. If you do like any other throw, also guaranteed. Now, why do I think this is a good option? Well, one of the reasons I think that's a good option is that if he presses anything here, like let's say any button here, unless it jumps like this does, the throw will work. But something jumping, you won't be able to throw out of it, right? But normally you won't see any jumping moves after this. I don't know if this counts. Let me check this. But yeah, throws usually, it does count. That kind of sucks. That does count as a jump. That does suck. But yeah, usually the Hwoarang players won't use these options. Usually, the jumping options. Because, you know, they're pretty punishable most of the time. And if you do mash a punish, it will also work. The most used moves that they will do is either a power crush. Like this one, which is also another power crush you can do here, right? Or they do back one, which is more common. This right here. And what back one does, it evades your punishment, basically. If you do 1-1 or 1-2, it won't work. 1+2 won't work. Back 1-2 can work, but it can also whip sometimes, depending on angle. But back 1-2 is okay. It works, I think, most of the time, but the power crush will beat you. Which is why I think if you throw here, this will also track him. So it beats the power crush option and the back one option. It also beats anything that doesn't jump. Worst case scenario, they will break this. Because unless they jump, right? If they don't jump, worst case scenario is they break this because they just don't press anything. But the throw is good to do, especially if you have a good throw. For Kaz, just do either a 1+2 throw or this throw. Or change the sides. Sometimes you don't want to change sides, but the 2 throw we have is the best throw that we have. It's the best one. Because of the OK it gives. But other than that, you have to be very careful about this. It is a mind game on block, and if you respect it, they might just start mixing you up. So 100% you have to press at least something. Don't let Hwoarang players mix you up. You don't want that, ever. So yeah, down forward 1-3. Mix up on block, be careful about it. Down forward 1 by itself is amazing. Because as I said, it's -1 with a follow-up. Which is very crazy to have. It's very strong. Okay, that's about down forward 1. Now let's talk about another generic tool that he has, down forward 2. So this down forward 2 is a very generic down forward 2. It's -7 on block. and normal hit launcher. It doesn't launch crouchers though. Let me just demonstrate that. So if I'm crouching, it won't launch me. It's just gonna be +4 and it won't launch me. But this Woo is also very, very good to have because it's a generic down 4-2 that can be used as a keep out move. It also tracks really well to his left side, basically fully tracking. Right? Look at this. I cannot step it. Fully tracks to this side. And you have to step it to the right. But the thing is, even if you step it, you have to sidewalk it. So all of his moves basically have slight tracking. So one direction is full tracking, the other direction is slight tracking. Look at that tracking, right? If I do the block or press, obviously, I'm gonna get hit or block it. So the slight tracking it has is still very, very useful because, you know, sidestep block doesn't beat it. That's really, really good to have. And the damage after this isn't that bad either. I mean, I'm doing shit combos, right? But there we go, something like this. With the amazing wall carry. I hate Hwoarang's wall carry in this game. It's so fucking, I don't know, brain dead in my opinion. But yeah, be careful about this. Be very, very careful. This down 4-2 is scary, and that's what Hwoarang players usually will do for keep out. So they also have a keep out option. This is one of them. Right? Down 4-2. You just throw this out if they think you're gonna come close, and they will launch you either counter hit or normal hit if you don't press back or sidestep it or anything. And this is gonna be way harder to sidestep if you dash in first and then sidestep. It's way, way harder. So usually you want to bait this. Bait it on whiff, punish it. But even on whiff, it's not that bad. It's like any other generic down 4-2. It's not that bad on whiff. But if you bait it, you should be ready to punish it. The other keep out move they also might do is back 4. This move. And this, in my opinion, is something Hwoarang should not have anymore in this game. I don't know why he has it. It's really messed up why back 4 exists. So back 4 is a 13 frame high that counter hit launches. Right? It doesn't even do an animation in the sideways, but it still works. Like, when it comes to some other moves, the sideway animation, it doesn't work like that, but in this case, it sometimes still works, like it did last time. But yeah, it's a counter launcher. That's the main issue, not the sideway animation. Forget about that. So back 4 is another very, very good move because, you know, it's a launcher. 13 frames. This is basically the equivalent of a Steve back 1. Very, very close to it. It doesn't recover as well, obviously, and Steve back 1 on blocks most likely is better as well, but other than that, this is very, very close to a Steve back 1 because 13 frame high, right? Decent range. Even though it's -10, sometimes your jabs might whiff on block. I've seen my jab whip before. Maybe they fixed it. Maybe they fixed that 1-1. But yeah, this is punishable, which is the big thing about this. This is very, very important to know that back 4 is actually punishable now. -10. But you still have to be careful about it. As I said, it can sometimes make your jab whiff depending on the angle or, I don't know, backdash direction, not direction, but how much you backdash it. So be careful about it. But I think it will usually work, especially because our 1-1 got a little bit fixed. So Kazuya 1-1 is pretty good. But yeah, big back 4, be careful about this. But if you do block it, punish it. Definitely punish it. Okay. What else to talk about? For keep out, I don't think that they do that much other than down 4-2 and back 4. But as a keep out move, you might also mention something like 4-4-4. Like, this is not exactly a keep out, but it can also function as a keep out. Just frame skyrocket. I don't think they use this as a keep out much. That. They will usually use it as a mix-up option. Usually. But yeah, I'm going to mention that a little bit later. But yeah, 4-4-4 is also one of them. So this is used in many, many situations. But one of them can be keep out. Basically, they're stopping you from coming in and also ducking. You know, because it's a mid keep out move. It has very long range, so it stops you from moving too much unless you move it correctly. Right, so let's say this kind of situation, right? They're far away, which is when you should expect this kind of move. You try to step a little bit, but you basically mistime your step and you get hit anyway. So this is a linear move. The way you beat this is linear. But if you try to step in a bad timing like I did just there, you might still get hit because it's a forward move and the Hwoarang player can make this track a little bit too. But other than that, it is pretty linear and you should be stepping it. You should be stepping this. And you should also be expecting it in those kind of ranges. And that was one of the things that was pretty good to do against Hwoarang when it comes to mid-range like this. But that got changed in this game, which is really messed up in my opinion. So, what happened is while you usually want to sidestep Hwoarang in this mid-range, Hwoarang speed lab, yes. Because of forward, for example, right? You don't want to block this. Now what happened is they gave Hwoarang a move that can work as a tool that could go in, just like forward does, but also keeps you from sidestepping, which is the RFF down forward 3. So it has almost the same range as forward 4, the range is insane. And this new move is a tracking move, so it basically stops you from stepping. You can't step anymore. What you can do is jab interrupt this, which can be a good thing to do, but forward 4 might just catch you. And your jab might just whiff because of it, the forward 4, if you do try to jab. So something like this is what I mean. Actually, let me make distance first. Does that not exist anymore when it has slight... Yeah, I think they might fix that. It had slight jab crushing, from what I understood in Tengen 7. Because that happened before. They might have fixed that. But yeah, ignore what I said about the jab for forward 4 then. But yeah, jab keep out is basically what you're forced to do now. Because jab keep out is going to be very hard to punish for Hwoarang. And they're going to be forced to not use as many tools like RFF down forward 3. Like this one. So if you do a jab keep out for it, let's say you can react to that RFF stance transition and you just jab, you will get a float here. So that's a decent punish for our RFF down forward 3. The jabbing is good. Jab checking. Like instead of electric checking, you can do jab checking. Electric checks of course are amazing, but jab checks are also pretty damn good. But a minus of jab checking is that kinda opens you up to him just slowly coming closer to you, you know? And that's also one of the things that Hwoarang can do because he also has a Weiwu. A Weiwu is one of the best tools to get close to someone, right? It's very, very strong. And Hwoarang is one of the characters that has it. In Mishima Weiwu. Wave Dash. So it's pretty damn good. And one of the tools that Hwoarang players might use to, come close also. Let's actually move on from a keep out tools to close that Hwoarang. Move out to from tools that Hwoarang player uses to come keep out. Instead, let's move out from that, talk about the moves that Hwoarang player uses to come in. So, 1-2 is one of those moves. 1-2 flamingo transition. So, the 1-2 is one of those moves that's very, very good to use as a move to come in, because it also has a lot of mix-ups on block. And it's very, very strong. Why do I say that? Let's just discuss the 1-2 now. This might take a little bit, but I have to skip a lot of stuff as well because the main reason 1-2 is strong. So let me just start. The main reason 1-2 is strong is, as I already mentioned, it can actually transition to right flamingo or left flamingo, right? And when he transitions to this flamingo stances after 1-2, he's actually plus, right? +3. What that means is if he does 1-2 transition 2, for example, this is uninterruptible. This actually trades with your own jab. That's why you might see someone down jabbing after 1-2 so much, right? One of the reasons that you might see this. So this is very, very strong. But if you respect it, let's say you don't down jab or do anything, if you respect it, the right flamingo is the stance that he goes to after down 3-4. Which I'm pretty sure you know that most of the options after down 3-4 are pretty scary. So there's a hell sweep here. This hell sweep, which is new. And also this tracking move. Also this move, which is a safe heat engager now. Also this mid. Like a lot of stuff basically. Just have to be very, very careful about this. And in heat it's even more scarier. But I'm going to talk about all that stuff a little bit later. So be very, very careful. There's a hell sweep here. There are mids here. The scariest one might be this one, this mid right here, which is a countered launcher. So if you do something very slow, this might launch you as well. And by very slow, I mean 14 frames or slower. Which is technically not very slow, but yeah. So let me just demonstrate that, right? If I do something like back 2, which is 14 frames. This will trade, and Hwoarang player will get a combo. I think something like down back 4 will pick that up. So be very, very careful about the 1-2 flamingo. And he can also transition to left flamingo, and you can't really react to which flamingo he transitions. Can't do it. So yeah, be very careful. I'm going to talk about the flamingos and the most common moves after them. I won't be talking about every move because there's so much of it, but I'll talk about the most common ones from what I know anyway. So yeah, 1-2 is strong. Down jab does beat the flamingo transitions, but the weakness of down jab is that Hwoarang also has a mid extension to 1-2. Right? And the weakness of mashing in general is this move. Because this just hits you. You can't do anything about this, by the way. You can't sidestep this. You can't do anything about this. And it's safe on block with good pushback. So 1-2 forward 3, I think that's the input. Not 1-2 3, right? Yeah, 1-2 forward 3. It's very, very good. It's very, very strong. It doesn't let the Hwoarang player continue pressure because it creates pushback and it basically goes back to neutral with like a little bit of minus frames, like -8. But the pushback makes it so that you're a little bit scared to press because if Hwoarang just backdashes, a lot of your stuff will whiff. Be very careful in that situation. But yeah, 1-2 is one of the moves that they will use to just, you know, come in, and most of the time they will do something like this. Like 1-2, right flamingo 2, and go into RFF stance, and then mix you up with RFF stance 2, because it's +5. So I'm going to talk about the RFF in a little bit, but there's a lot of transitions that we have to talk about as well. But yeah, in a little bit. Okay, that's 1-2. I think those are the most common moves, which is RFF down forward 3. I just want to mention that real quick before I did talk about RFF in general. Forward 4, which is quite common. And 1-2, also quite common. And as I said, they might also use lows like down back 3 or down 4 to come in, just because of the electric threat or the jab threat. But usually you'll see down back 3 and not the down 4, because down 4 is really, really risky. So yeah, down back 3. And let's talk about down back 3 since I just mentioned it a little bit. So this move is high crushing low, comes out in 90 frames. It's very, very similar to our own down back 3, this one. And it also has a counter property, which is pretty good. +17 counter property, tracks pretty decently, but you can usually sidewalk it to the left. If you sidestep it, it might track, but you can sidewalk it sometimes, right? Like that. But it tracks decently to the right, like pretty decently. You can also sidewalk this sometimes, but it has pretty decent tracking. Because your sidesteps won't work. You have to sidewalk it. And if you start sidewalking, as I said, RFF down forward 3 is one of the options he has now that will catch your sidewalks pretty consistently, and you don't want that happening. So yeah, be careful about that. But down back 3, as I already mentioned, it's -13. Kazuya can TP it. That's about down back 3. Down 4, I already mentioned a little bit. Let me actually mention it a little bit more, just because I don't want to, you know, forget about this move. So down 4, as I already mentioned, is one of the more high crushing lows he might use when he, you know, wants to high crush your jabs or something. But the big weakness of this is that it's -17. Okay. So you can actually launch it with the wall standing too. How minus is Kazuya down back 3? It's -12. That's the big difference, because counter property is worse. So yeah, it's -17, but the big difference is that down 4, not difference, but big thing about this move is that down 4 has a follow-up. So you can't instantly punish this. Actually, you can instantly punish this. That's my bad. If you do duck this, you can instantly punish this while staying too. I forgot this was a thing. So yeah, it doesn't actually get blocked. If you instantly do a while staying 2 here, you'll just punish the -17 and the high, if you do block it. But the big thing about this move is that if they just throw this out and you get hit, this is not natural. It's -13 as well, so you can just punish this. That's why this is so risky to do. Down 4 by itself, if blocked, is launch punishable. The high is also doesn't mix up the punish, it's not a punish mix-up. And the high, if he hits it, is also punishable. So down 4 you won't really see that much. From good Hwoarang players anyway, you usually would see down back 3 more. If you want a high crushing low. Okay, these two moves I already covered. Let's talk about lows now, since I'm at those points. And the biggest low we have to talk about is this one right here, down 3-4. So down 3-4 is a low they won't use to come in as much, because if they are scared of electrics, let's say you electric a lot or jab a lot, he will get hit for it, right? If they just come in down 3-4, this doesn't high crush. So they'll be a little bit more careful about this. So they might do this and then while standing 4-4, which is a very common setup. But let's not talk about that yet. Let's talk about down 3-4. So when they do come in, one of the most common ways to come in, as I said, is jabs, right? They can do jabs into down 3-4. They can do that. Or if you respect it too much and don't throw out any keep out, they might just, wave you into down 3-4, or just not wave you, just dash in into down 3-4 to start pressure, which is, pretty annoying to deal with. So let's just talk about this move just a little bit before I transition to why it's so good. Not why it's so, to the stances that it gives you. So this move is a low high, and if you do try to punish it instantly, you will actually get hit by the high. So what you have to do here is wait for the Hwoarang player, do the high, so keep your down guard, crouching block, wait, and do your punish. And for Kaz, it usually means twin pistons. Don't do while standing 2 here, this one right here. And the reason you don't do anything slow is, let me showcase this, is that down 3-4, even on whiff, can be very, very hard to punish. Not on whiff, on block. Because he has an option here, which is right flamingo, forward 4, right? Which is an 8 frame high in this situation that might counter hit you if you're too slow. So something like this, right? Let's say I block this and I try to punish with while standing 2. I just got counter hit. That comes out very fast. So what you want to do is do something fast, like 4-4 for example, right? Or TP, which is also quite fast, 13 frames, but sometimes that can happen. But you make sure to do it fast. 4-4 is very, very consistent, but TP can also work, which is good. But you have to be very, very careful. If you're even a little bit too slow, you will get launched by forward 4. The other thing you can do against forward 4 is just keep ducking, right? You just keep ducking if you expect it, and then punish it. But I would not really recommend this. I recommend to just be fast and punish it like that. Because the thing about that is that the Hwoarang can also use a second option to deal with your punishment, which is down 3-4, not back 3, it's back 4. I always mix them up because of the flamingos. So down 3-4, back 4, which is a power crush. So what this can do is down jab is an option select. I almost forgot to mention that. You can down jab this very consistently. You can also do that. But I recommend doing this, because this beats both the power crush option and the forward 4 option if you're quick enough. But if you're too slow, something like that may happen. Right? So it's not easy to punish. 4-4 being the most consistent. See that? I'm messing it up a lot. Even in practice mode, I'm messing it up. This is not easy. Especially since power crushes are faster now. There we go. So the minus of you just ducking this, let's say you just keep on ducking, right? This will hit you. This will hit you. So be very careful about punishing it with something slow. Either do like 11 or max 13. Don't do anything slower than that. Even Jin 4 while standing 2, I feel like can be a little bit too slow. So yeah, be careful. Back 3 safe? I don't know, bro. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about the stances in a little bit. First, I want to mention down 3-4. Is there any other low I should mention outside of the stance ones? I think neutral lows, that's about it. But the stance ones are a lot. So I will add a lot of the lows later. Oh, down back 4. How did I forget? I almost forgot about down back 4. So down back 4 is a very, very strong low. I think it's one of the most underrated lows, in my opinion. Because this transitions into right flamingo just like 1-2 does, right? 1-2-3, not 1-2-3, 1-4, and it actually gives plus frames on hit, like +3, and this also gives the same kind of mix-up like down 3-4, more or less. So if he does down 4 into this, let's say you block this, you will also get launched. You won't be able to punish this. You have the down jab option selected, which is one of the things you can do, right? To just stop him. But even if you down jab, something like a power crush here will beat it. And as I already said, you're actually taking more chip damage than the Hwoarang player here, so it's still worse for you. It's not good. So yeah, be very careful. He recovers too fast. His recovery, like one thing to remember about Hwoarang is all his moves, basically all his moves, recover very fast. Like the recovery of basically all of the moves he has is very good. I mean very good. He's very hard to whiff punish. Okay, let's talk about the down back 4 now and why it's good. So the +3 on hit situation basically means that this jab can come out very, very often and it will trade with anything, unless you down jab, right? But if you down jab, he also has options to just do something like this, which is a hop kick, which will beat the down jab, or just do down back 4 into a low parry because he's not forced into right flamingo. Market hello. So you have to be very, very careful about this low. And the biggest thing about this, in my opinion, is that there's a bug right now, which I don't know how long it will take them to fix this. I actually reported this already on Twitter. But there's a bug right now that forces you to not sidestep to one side when this hits you. You cannot sidestep to your foreground, which if you're P1, it's sidestep right. What this means is that if you're P1, this becomes unsteppable. This flowchart right here, that will trade with 13 framers like this. I actually forgot I can't do my 13 framer. So what this does is not only just stops you from sidestepping to the right, it also nullifies all your moves that start with a down. So you can't do any move that has a down input to it. Do you guys see that clipping, by the way? With my hand? That looks hilarious. But yeah, I can't do down forward 4, for example. I can't do down forward 1. I can't do down forward 3. I can't do down back 3, down back 4. It's not possible in this situation. So even if I want to trade with a 13 framer here with my down forward 4 in this situation, I can't do it. Because my down forward 4 becomes a down 4. So the bug here is you're kind of in a false crouch state. I don't know why, but it's a bug. So yeah, be careful about this as well, but if you're P1 you can't really do much about it unless you mash. And as I said, mashing isn't the best idea. You can jab, and it will trade with this, but it's really not that good of an idea, let me tell you that. Okay. Other than that, down back 4 obviously goes in the right flamingo. The right flamingo mix-ups that we already know, I already mentioned right flamingo mix-ups. They're one of the strongest ones in the flamingos. Like, compared to left, I think right is better, from what I know. Anyway, okay, that's about neutral lows, I think. Am I forgetting something? Hopefully not. So yeah, now let's transition to the stance. Let's transition into one of his most common stances. Counter launcher in heat. You mean just down back 4? This? Yes, it is. I was about to mention this in heat section, but yes, it is. Like, this is what he's talking about, by the way, guys. Like, down back 4, this is guaranteed. So I was about to mention this when I go into heat, but it's gonna take a while for him to go into heat. Makes sense? Yeah. Makes perfect sense, right? Amazing move. So, yeah, be careful. Down back 4 is amazing. It's just very good. Very, very underrated low, in my opinion. Especially with the bug that's happening right now. So, okay, let's go into RFF now. So RFF stance, this stance, got a major, major buff because of down forward 3, which is a move I already mentioned before. It's this move. It's an infinite range tracking mid, which also jumps, so it will low crush, which also means you cannot parry it. And it's a tracking mid, it's safe, but not only is it safe, it's a heat engager, but not only is it a safe and heat engager, it's also plus. So how many good properties did I just mention that the move has? So +1, it can become more plus, by the way, depending on the range. It can become +2 or +3. So +1, mid, tracking, fully tracking, has the properties. Heat engager. What else do you want from a move? Oh, I almost forgot. 5th, the most important one. Infinite range. Look at this range. Okay, that whiffed. Actually made it whiff. 3.5 range. 3.3? That will hit you. That's like 3.5 range, something like that. So this move is crazy. It's a crazy move. Because what this does, as I already mentioned, is that it will kind of stop you from stepping the character in the neutral. Because usually forward, forward, forward is what's going to come when he wants to, come close to you. But you do want to step that. But now you can't step. It stops your stepping because that exists. But as I said, one of the best things you can do against something like that is a jab. Because anything else is way too risky. If If you do a jab, you might float it if you get the read on it. So a jab keep out can be pretty useful. Yeah, this move is bonkers crazy. This move is crazy move. I'm gonna talk about the mind game after it as well. So the mind game after it is basically this gets blocked. The Hwoarang is still in RFF stance, so same stance. What this means is most likely something like a 2 jab might come out, because it's the fastest thing he has, or a 1 jab, but usually 2 jab is the one that comes out. And the most common one is 2-4. I'm pretty sure, or 2-3. So these two are very, very common. Now why are they common? They're common because the Hwoarang is plus, as I already said. And if you do want to jab check him, let's say you want to jab him, right? Because you don't want to get mixed up by down 3-4 after this. This is a RFF down 3-4. It's basically the same as normal down 3-4, by the way. It doesn't have that much difference outside of the damage. It does more damage. But yeah, the mix-up usually is if you jab check him, they'll jab check you back, which will counter hit you. Something like 2-4 is a safer option. 2-4-4 can also come out, or 2-3. Basically jab options. 2-3 comes out if they want a wall splat, usually. But this might also just throw him out in the neutral. So 2-3 is very good. This is one of the best ones because it's a high that's safe. You can duck this actually, right? Which is very good if you do predict it. But that's why usually Hwoarang players go for something like 2-4, which is not duckable on the jab on block. It's pretty safe to do. It's very safe to do actually. It's -8 with a follow-up. So that's why they would usually go for this. And it also has a follow-up that you can delay. So look at this. Look at that delay. Let's say you want to press after this. Nope. No pressing. So you have to be very, very careful about that 2-4. I mean, 2-3 is also pretty scary, but as I said, they won't use it that much outside of the walls. 2-4, scary option. And the thing about 2-4 is that when this happens into 2-4, the +1 situation, let's say this happens. You can sidestep this, but the second hit tracks really well. You see that? The tracking on the second hit. But remember that you cannot sidewalk this unless you sidewalk to the right. If you sidewalk to the left, this will catch you. So be very, very careful. Sidewalk right is how you beat this, both of the options. Or you just crouch. Which, I don't know, I don't think that's a good option. But be careful about sidewalking right. It can be a little bit inconsistent. But it can work. Did I play drag already? I did. Yes, I did. So, yeah, be very, very careful. And if you respect something like 2-4, if you're like sidewalking, for example, if you respect it, then Hwoarang players might start mixing you up because of the plus frames. And as I already talked about, RFF stance down 3-4 is still there. The same down 3-4 here, but it actually does 3 more damage. I don't know why it does more damage, basically the same move, but yeah, it's very, very good to have. Let me tell you that, it's very good to have. Because this kind of forces you to guess, so you don't want to respect the Hwoarang player. That's why they check you with 2-4 so much, because they know you're not going to respect them. Usually a jab will come out. If you do something like a down jab, they might low parry it. They might, I don't know, do a jumping move like a orbital after it. So, yeah. Basically play the mind game and vary your options. Down jab, jab, sidewalk, backdash. Sometimes a countered option if they like doing slow moves after it. So, yeah, vary your options is basically what you want to do after it anyway. The most common thing you'll see is maybe just a 2 jab. Instead of 2-4, you might just see a 2. Because, this is even safer than a 2-4. And about the RFF 2 jab, this is also a plus. And that's why you'll see it. So basically, this is very, very common for a Hwoarang player to do. RFF, down forward 3, 2 jab, and then maybe they'll do another one. It's very common because even if you block this, the Hwoarang player is plus, so you can't really do anything about this. Okay, so that's one of the options. And I almost forgot one of the common options as well, especially if you're pressing, is down forward 4. So RFF down forward 4 is one of the best moves he has because it just gets used so much as a counter hit tool in many situations. And this is one of those situations. So when he is in RFF stance, in any situation basically, especially if he's plus, like, biggest example of this is Hwoarang 4-4. So Hwoarang 4-4 is one of the moves that transition into this. So down forward 4 basically counter hits you because it's a 13 frame mid, right? 13 frames is really fast. And not only does it check you, it counter hit you, it also has all this guaranteed on counter hit. This is all guaranteed on counter hit. And the biggest thing that makes this very strong is that is confirmable on counter hit. So what Hwoarang players do is they do this, and if they see the counter hit happen, then they finish the 3. Then they do this. And other than that, they just do this. And why is this so strong? So because it's a high, okay, if you think it's coming, just duck and punish it, right? No, wrong. So let's actually see that, right? Let's actually see this. So this jab, I forgot to go to RFF. So let me RFF, do this, there we go. So this jab is basically a +5, 13 frame 2 jab, which comes out from right foot forward. Not right foot forward, flamingo. So this jab is very strong. It's a +5 jab, so that's why they stop here and confirm the counter hit, right? And because even if they stop here, there's still a lot of plus. So what they can do here is they can literally loop this. You see this? So let me actually demonstrate that. And if they loop this, and let's say you press something after jab, you got counter hit. So they will confirm this into the wall splat. You jab, same thing. Only thing that will beat this loop is gonna be parry. Something like this. Or you can also, you know, punch parry this, which can also work well. Yeah, that's a right flamingo 2 jab, this one right here. But they can just do it in the neutral as well, because the right flamingo cancel is also a thing. I don't know how to do it consistently, but it's a thing. So it's only a right flamingo move. So how do you deal with this? As I said, you guys might think, okay, just duck and punish it. But I'll actually see what happens when I try to do that. Let me duck this. I'm pretty sure all of you guys just noticed the punish didn't light up. Let me actually make it a little bit more visual as well. Hold back. There we go. That's a punish. Let me delay it just a bit. Not a punish. Not a punish. Not a punish. Okay. So the biggest problem about this move is it's basically unpunishable on whiff, even if you duck it. He recovers faster than a normal jab does. I'm pretty sure that is the case. If not exactly the same, but I'm pretty sure it's faster than a normal jab. It's a punish if the Hwoarang doesn't block. Yeah, it's a punish if the Hwoarang doesn't block. Yeah, that is true. But usually they do, because as I said, they will confirm the 2, they won't finish the 3, and they'll just hold back. So, yeah, be very careful about this. And just ducking isn't really a good option either. It is really not a good option. Trust me, it's not a good option. Because if you duck, you can just do something like this, which is one of the options that's very common right now. So, something like this sequence, let me see the sequence, this into this, very common. Let's say you get hit by Hwoarang 4-4, right? You try to duck the punch here, nope. No ducking allowed. So you have to sidestep this. The best thing you have to do after down forward 4 is sidestep. That's one of the best things you can do. But you have to remember this fact about this. If you do sidestep this, let's say you sidestep this, right? One of the ways you have to punish this is just a jab. If you want to punish this, don't do a launcher. Do not do this. Never do this. Oh, don't go to the left because the 3-4 tracks. You have to go to the right here. Never do a sidestep electric here. Never works. They recover way too quick. And no matter how fast I am, it just doesn't work. Even this doesn't work. It's just not a punish. No way Hwoarang usually blocks. This is the rare case when they do, because they all know to counter to confirm this. Because they confirm it and then hold back. And if it gets blocked, maybe then they'll press. Especially good Hwoarang players, right? Especially good ones. So be very, very careful. And the best way to deal with that is to sidestep right after down forward 4. It's very good. But, of course there's another but. He also has tracking moves that will track you, basically. So you have to be careful. One of the ones that I'm just gonna give one example because I don't want to talk about RFF yet because I haven't even started talking about this move, this stance, right? So one of the things I want to talk about is this back 3 right here. So that's RFF back 3. And this can also be step to the right, but it also tracks completely to the left. So if you do step it to the left, GG well played with back 3. Is the beard coming back? Nope. Maybe. I'm not sure. So that's one of the things that will track you. But I think the most annoying part is, since you do want to go to the right, as I already said, the most annoying moves is this one right here. Because this one, so RFF down forward 4, 1 will track you to the right. But it whips to the left. So this one is like the most annoying move ever to deal with. Because usually you want to go to the right, but this will track you and it's a safe mid. And not only is it a safe mid, it's a -2 safe mid with a follow-up high. Basically with a mind game. Not fun. Not fun to deal with. Not interactive. Nothing like that. Hwoarang player basically does this move and mixes up with, like, I don't know, anything they want. And I think he can also do down forward 4, but I'm pretty sure that's steppable. Let me just check it. So this move is also one of the things they can do, RFF down forward 4. Never mind. But this is one of the things you can also do to track you. Both sides. Wow. Okay. Good move. Good move, guys. Good move. So yeah, be careful. Be careful about those two. The right foot, not right foot forward. Right flamingo 1 tracks you to the right, and this move just tracks you both sides. And about this move, which is right flamingo down forward 4, it's a plus frame mid. It's +1. Amazing move. It's very, very strong, and oh yeah, it's +1, +8, forces crouch on hit, and countered launcher. Tracks both ways, by the way. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. So the options I just talked about are all right flamingo options. So this stance option right here, this one. So I talked about the 1. I talked about the 2, which is basically this into the 2, because that's a RFF transition. This transitions into RFF into 2. I talked about the 1, right? I talked about forward 4 already when I mentioned this. So that's also one of the right flamingo moves. I didn't talk about 3, but you won't see this much. And I also talked about 3-4, this one. And the thing about 3 is, if you see it, this also is one of the options, by the way. So if they do a 3 here, this one, this will also track you to the right. This also tracks. But they don't do this on purpose most of the time. You won't see a Hwoarang player do this on purpose. If you see this, they most likely messed up the 3-4. Because this move, this move right here, is the 3 tilde 4. You press 3 first and then 4. If they messed up, they might get this instead. And even though you're sidestepping that, the right direction, this, you might get hit just because they messed up with the 3. Which is crazy. Crazy to think about. They messed up, but they got you anyway. Because, you know, even though you have the right read, they messed up, so they got you. So, yeah, be careful about that as well. I think that's it about right flamingo, right? Yeah, I think that's it. More or less, that's it. Just be careful of that 2 jab because it's +5. Be very, very careful about that. It's not easy to deal with. And as I said, RFF down forward 4 is a transition to right flamingo instantly. And yeah, right flamingo also has a hell sweep. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this already, right? This one. So they might mix you up instantly after RFF down forward 4 because you're respecting it. Right? For example, this, not that, I messed it up. For example, this hell sweep. Especially in heat they might do this because this tracks and in heat it's stronger. You see that? It's fully tracking. The second hit just whiffed there, but usually it won't. There we go. I just made it whiff by sidewalking to the left, but usually it won't. Trust me, in real games this won't happen that much. They might even buff Hwoarang. Yeah, guys, buff Hwoarang. This shouldn't happen, right? Buff him. Buff Hwoarang. He's weak. Weak character. So, yeah, I think that's all about the right flamingo, more or less. And the usual transitions, I'll just mention them just so you guys know, is the down 3-4, right flamingo. So all the options I just mentioned will instantly happen after this. Like the 2 jab that's +5, the 1 that's a good move with like the extensions with this, right? It also has this extension too, but this is something you have to lab, guys. Like I'll always be able to, you know, teach you this kind of stuff. This you have to lab the duck on the second hit sometimes, or how to deal with this. This is a string, but it's strong because just this has that follow-up, so you can't instantly mash. Nerf Leroy, yes, Nerf Leroy. Why not? He does way too much damage. Leroy does so much damage. Nerf Leroy, buff Dragunov, and Hwoarang, because they do way too little damage. Okay, so that's RFF, not RFF. Oh my goodness, right flamingo. I don't think I actually finished RFF. So let's actually go back to the right foot forward stance. So down forward 3 is the most common option. Down forward 4 is very, very common as well. But you might also see the 2 jab, I also talked about that. But the thing about RFF is that down 3-4, is also a mix-up option. And it gets mixed up with this, basically. So that's a very, very different thing from normal stance that he doesn't have as a threatening of a mid to mix it up with. While also, you know, being relatively safe and plus while doing it. The thing they have while in normal stance is down forward 4. I forgot to mention this move. It's also such a strong move. So this move is a tracking 16 frame mid that has very good range. Like look at this range, like 2.4 I think, 2.4 something like this. So very, very good range. It's very hard to backdash out of this. And usually the way you deal with tracking moves is you backdash out of them, usually. But this, nope, you can't do that. Not everything for following. So let's talk about this move. So Hwoarang neutral normal stance down forward 4 is a mid tracking safe -8, right? Counter hit knockdown move, and on hit it's +8. So +8 on hit, -8 on block. Kinda easy to remember, but it's also not backdashable. You cannot backdash this basically ever. And if you sometimes disrespect it something too slow, you have to remember that this move also transitions to right foot forward instantly. Dark side, hello. So this right foot forward stance, I already talked about this, gains access to something like this. So if you do something too slow, this might counter hit you. This right here. So be very, very careful. Because this just transitions into that stance. This. Oh, and I almost forgot, this stance also has a backlash. So RFF is the stance that has this enduring power crush. This one. So you might see a setup like this into this. You might see it. And the funny part is this will beat 14 framers. No? Ah, it's 13. Okay, yeah. Am I slow? This should beat 13 framers. Not 13. +7. 15. I think I was slow. It should beat 15 framers. Not anything faster though. 15 framers. I was right the first time. I doubted my math skills. Real Tommy, hello. So yeah, I have to be careful about that. That might be a setup. Especially because after down forward 4, a lot of people might like the step. Yeah, forward 4 backflash is also one of them. Actually, when I was talking about forward 4, I forgot to mention that. But on block, this is safe, right? It's -7. And creates pushback. So sometimes you don't want to mash after it. And a lot of people backdash. And forward 4 is one of those moves that transitions into RFF, which is right foot forward stance. And they gain access to this, which can be pretty common afterwards. The minus of this move is that it's somewhat reactable. You can sometimes react to it if you train yourself to react to it. It's 27 frames. But the plus sides of this move are a lot. So let's actually talk about this a bit. So it has very, very good range, right? Pretty decent range, like 2.4 I think as well. Something like that. It's +5 on block, +4 or more. Usually it's +4, +5, something along those lines. It's a high plus frame move that tracks, right? Gives a guaranteed 4-4-3 here. Something's guaranteed. But the minus is that it's somewhat reactable and you can punish it. But the plus move this move also has is that it recovers very quickly. So you cannot do something slow like a wall staying 2 to punish it most of the time. So if I try that, let's say I try wall staying 2, right? Unless I'm super quick, like that, this won't punish this. So always try to TP. Does it recover slower? I'm not sure. I haven't tested the recovery differences. But I don't really care, it still recovers fast. It used to be I-18, maybe I'll check it later. But just for the YouTube folk, just remember it still recovers really quick, so do something fast. Like TP is like a great example to do. TP works really well. Okay. So be careful about backlash. Let me see if I can remember anything else from like right flamingo. Oh, I should mention this move as well, but it's not gonna be used that much. So Hwoarang also has a 15 frame check, or 1+2, this one. From either right flamingo or normal stance. This works in both stances. So this usually is used for people in situations like +5 or more. So imagine this situation, basically. The right flamingo 2 jab that I talked about, like this jab, as I said, it's +5 on block. So they might check you with something like this. At least it was really common in Tekken 7. But it's not as common now because they changed the properties of this move. Because it's not launch anymore. But it's still really, really good. It's really strong. Now why is it strong? Let me actually demonstrate that the setup that I just mentioned. So something like this, right? So what this does is it will counter your jab attempt, like that. If you do something slower, it will just counter you. And it tracks really well. Pure tracking, right? And when I said the sidestep down forward 4, that's why I told you to sidestep, and if you want to punish, do something fast. Because even if they press, you might get counter hit. So yeah, that's how it looks like in like action, basically, when this blocks +5, they do instantly this. But this is still good, because this guarantees this right here. Yeah, no, something is guaranteed. That is guaranteed. This down forward 3+4 is a new move he has, which is the 13 frame punish. It's a heat engager. And the thing about this is that, you know, in heat, this becomes stronger. So this into this. So something like this. Let me actually demonstrate in heat. Into forward 3. That does like 50 something damage. So that becomes stronger. So this move is still really good. The tracking mid with a counter hit property that does that. And oh, I forgot to mention this. I didn't show the block property. -9. Yes, it's -9. It's safe. So it's really good. It's still a very good move. It used to launch in the previous game. But it's still a very good move. It's very strong. So be careful about that move. Okay. So that's about RFF, more or less. Did I forget something? I mentioned the jab string, especially 2-4 and 2-3. Down forward 3, I mentioned that. Down back 4 is the normal one. Oh yeah, this, but you won't see this that much. The RFF back 4. You won't see it that much. There are setups for this, but I actually forgot the inputs for the setup, so. Oh, back 2, I think. This one, almost forgot. Oh my goodness, how did I forget? So RFF also has speed live Hwoarang, yes. Has mid that is plus. So this move is also one of the important mids to talk about when it comes to RFF stance. Because this move, while the weakness of this is its tracking, you can actually sidestep with both sides, which is what you're supposed to do against it, is that it's +4. So if you do block this, let's say you block this, something like down forward 4 will immediately frame trap you with the, you know, the trap I just talked about, this right here. They just confirm the counter hit into a wall splat, or not a wall splat, but good damage. So be very careful about that. And one of the biggest things about this move also is that on hit it's +6 and forces crouch. So be very, very careful about this, especially on block and on hit, right? Sometimes you do want to mash after it, or sidestep after it at least, because they might just mix you up with down 3-4. Just straight up. Or just do the back 2 into another back 2. But that's why sidestepping after it can be a good option. But as I said, still be careful. It's a very bad situation. Sidestep right can work, but just be careful. It's very scary to deal with Hwoarang in general, especially when he's plus, which is usually the situation. He's almost always plus. Do you step right versus Hwoarang? The thing is, I think it depends. I like stepping right because of this option, that option right there that he has after down forward 4. Just because of this, I would step his RFF stance usually to the right as well. But stepping Hwoarang became a little bit weirder just because this exists. And obviously this also exists. So you gotta know your options. And as I said, in plus frame situations, he also uses RFF 2-4 to stop you from stepping because it's a fast high. So yeah, be careful about that. And after something like down 3-4, for example, you're just guessing for your life. It's plus 14. You cannot step here. No stepping allowed. You're minus 14. Do not step. Okay, so it's situational basically. Sometimes you can sidestep him to the left as well, but as I said, I don't like going to the left just because this move exists and tracks so well to the left. Okay, so that's RFF more or less, I guess. Let me see if I forgot something. Just mash some buttons. That's how I found back 2, by the way. The RFF also has the back 4, but it's the same move, which is RFF back 3. Countered launch, minus 10. This is exactly the same move as the neutral back 4, but it just has different input. Back 3. And it's a different leg. I don't know. Same move though. Okay, 3-4, you won't see that much. RFF 4, you might see sometimes, but rarely. Manual transition to flamingo, you might see that. So this move, RFF, also has a manual transition to right flamingo with forward 4, and has a manual transition to left flamingo, which is forward 3, but with a hit. So this transition is basically the same as this transition. So the thing is, both of the flamingos have a manual transition to them with a forward 4 and forward 3. But the difference is forward 4 comes out with a hit like this when you're in normal stance, and forward 3 comes out with a hit when you're in right foot forward stance. And the thing about this is it's very good to do sometimes because it's +9 on block. Yes, it's +9. +8, +9, +7, something like that. It's a lot of plus on block. It depends, sometimes it changes frames. So be very, very careful when you block this, because +8 into this is not steppable, not walkable, not mashable unless you power crush. So be very careful, especially if they do something like this as well. Into +5 situation again, so +9 situation here. Into +5 situation, and they might check you or just continue pressure. So the pressure situations that Hwoarang can do is like infinite possibilities basically. And it's more or less the same when it comes to RFF forward 3. So this is also a lot of plus. It's +6. It says +12 first, but it's +6. Just maintain your block. It depends. Sometimes you don't want to let Hwoarang player actually do something, but you have to guess what he is doing. This is a very guess-heavy character. He also guesses what you're gonna do, but he doesn't take as much risk. He just doesn't. Like you can't tell me that he's taking risk by doing this 2 jab. What's the risk here? Basically nothing, right? It's very hard to punish. So yeah, you have to basically guess his options. So that's why I always say when people ask me how to deal with Hwoarang is you have to know what he does and get used to the character. Other than that, it's gonna be very hard to deal with him. Sometimes you down jab, but even down jab have options. You know, Hwoarang can do something about down jabs. Okay, be careful about that. So now it's the actual transition to left foot forward. Not left foot forward. Left flamingo. This one. So left flamingo is also a very, very similar stance like right flamingo, just with the other foot. So left flamingo 1 is a 13 frame jab, very, very similar to right flamingo 2. It's basically the same jab because it's also +5, 13 frames fast. It's very, very similar. So the jabs I'm talking about is this one right here, and this one. Basically this. So this jab and this jab, basically same jab, basically, but from different stances, different foot stances, right? Left flamingo, right flamingo. It's exactly the same when it comes to left flamingo 2. This move right here. It's exactly the same move as this right flamingo 1. Exactly the same move. So I'm not going to mention them too much because I already mentioned them in the right flamingo. And this move, they actually have very, very similar movesets but with different buttons. So this move, left flamingo 4, is exactly the same as right flamingo 3. right? Exactly the same move. I already mentioned that as well. Left flamingo 3. This one is the big change, which is a new change. I didn't want that. Which enables this kind of pressure. So this is the new thing that he has from left flamingo that he doesn't have from right flamingo, which is a manual 3. So this manual 3, usually it says it's punishable, right? But it can actually transition, right, into a loop, basically. So now it's +2. So it's a 14 frame mid that can check you from left flamingo, and it's +2. So you might see something very similar to left flamingo 1 into 1 jab. Not that. I'm messing up my transitions. I'm not used to Hwoarang, guys. Sorry. I do apologize. This right here. You might see something like this. The 1 into 1 jab. And even though it's +2, you can actually beat this. But the recovery happens so weirdly that usually you're not ready to instantly jab him out of it. Because it recovers very, very quickly. So the +2 happens very, very quickly. So something like that might be common. And left flamingo also has a transition with 3, so it's a mind game as well. With either 3-4 or 3-3. Usually you will, I think, see 3-4. So something like this, wait. This into 3-4. And this is a very similar move, by the way, from a down 3-4. Which, he gets a lot of plus frames on block and goes to right flamingo. But the difference here is that you can actually duck the second hit. You can do that. So yeah, be very careful about that. But just in case, just like down 3-4 situation, you can also do this into forward floor. So try to do something fast when you do duck it. But this doesn't happen. I just did the wall standing 2. So the fastest thing you should do is 13. Basically do something fast. Be very careful. Sometimes duck it, because usually they will do this. Left flamingo 3-4. And they might mix this up with down 3-4. Because left flamingo, you can down 3-4 here. Right flamingo, you cannot down 3-4. He has a down 3, but it's this move instead. It's a different one. Like this move, right flamingo down 3-3, is a low high. And it's not the plus frame, right? If you duck it, you have to stay ducking though. This will catch you. But if you stay ducking, you get a punish. And just, I'm going to briefly mention this, I don't want to take too much time on down 3. It's usually used as a low mix-up for like low risk. But this move is also -13. If you do block it and you think the high is not going to come, you do twin piston it. So yeah, be careful about that. So left flamingo 3 is one of the big differences. You have to know this. But I think the biggest difference about the flamingos is left flamingo forward 3, which is a busted move in my opinion. I think it used to be even more busted, but it's still very, very strong. So something like 1-2 left flamingo can be a transition, right? As I already mentioned. And they can do this forward 3, which the weakness of this move is that it's steppable, right? But other than that, the move is basically super strong. It basically has very, very good options. Not options, tools. I mean, it's a strong tool is what I wanted to say. So it's a mid heat engager, right? Basically infinite range. Very, very good range. You cannot whiff this by, backdashing. You cannot make it whiff by backdashing is what I mean. It has a heat engaging property, as I already mentioned. And also in heat, so let me briefly mention this, this is also a launcher, right? You can launch after this, if you heat dash after it. And the biggest problem about this move is that it's plus on block. So this move, like this, plus 4. And that +4 is a lot, because as I said, he has this jab as an option to check you, this 2 as an option to check you as well. It's a little bit on the slower side, like your jabs will beat it. But he also has a 3 to check you, which is 14, basically a perfect check. And he has basically a lot of tools here. He might also do forward 3 into another forward 3. Like he can do this into another one. So the situation I'm talking about is basically this. On block into another one. So this into this. And that will trade with 15 framers. So if you do a generic down forward 2 there, you're gonna trade. Like if Kazuya does down forward 2, it will work though. But be careful because of the one jab. Oh, and also, just like a right flamingo having this power crush, left flamingo also has a very similar one, which is this. So beware of power crush in that situation sometimes as well. But one of the biggest things that you also have to be aware of in that situation is this forward 3, back 4. I don't know if back 4 is actually the same. Let me actually check it myself. I haven't checked this. So let's check together right now. So this forward 3, back 4. So back 4 is a mid check that you can do. Okay, they did change this. That's good. That it tracks really, really well to the right, unless you sidewall. Or just time it well. That's slight tracking, basically. But I think they changed this move. Okay, let's not mention this that much. This used to be a counter launcher, this back 4. Yeah, they changed this. That's good. Okay, other than that, what else to talk about? Left flamingo. There's something, their moves that are similar. Down 3-4 I talked about. +5 jab I talked about. Yeah, you can like change flamingos freely, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned this. You can just change it like this. Very freely. And it's very hard to react to. So if he does like something down 3-4, flamingo change, another down 3-4, this won't be easy to react to. So this is what they're doing when they're doing multiple down 3-4s. Down 3-4, change stance, another down 3-4. Because he does not have another down 3-4 from right flamingo. So now you guys know. If you do react to it, down 4-2 can work really well because, you know, counter launcher. Okay, other than that, what to mention? In the neutral stance, I think I forgot to mention CD3, which is also one of the most strongest moves he has. I think this move is very, very similar to left flamingo forward 3. I'm pretty sure you guys noticed the difference, right? Not difference, the similarity. Very, very similar. But the difference are the properties of the moves. Because this move is not a heat engager. It actually just purely wall splats. Right? And on counter it doesn't have a property, but it does a lot of damage in general. 27, normal wall splat, +4, and comes out from a wave dash. This is CD3. Right? So something like a CD down 3-4 or a CD3 might be a mix-up, especially at the wall. This is Hwoarang Mishima we're talking about, right? But the weakness of this move is exactly the same as the left flamingo forward 3, that it's steppable. So if you are stepping, it can be pretty good. You can just avoid this and then launch him. But the mix-up situation afterwards on block is exactly the same as this. Because let me just demonstrate it on block. It's +4 into left flamingo, exactly the same. So I shouldn't mention that too much. Okay, that's about CD3, which is also very, very strong. Also, in the previous game, while standing 3 was very good. Let me just briefly mention this. So this is a very, very good move. It used to be, because it used to be safe. The big difference about Hwoarang in this game is that while standing 3 is -12 now. But I think what they did is they nerfed Hwoarang. Hwoarang loved to do this move. I didn't see anyone use this move as well as he did. They just nerfed Hwoarang. So it's -12 now. Remember, when you do block it, always punish this. I still have to remember this myself, because sometimes I don't punish this. Okay. What else to mention? Just Frame Skyrocket. How did I forget? So Just Frame Skyrocket is another mix-up option he has, basically. This one, which I'm really bad at. I don't know if I'll be able to do the Blue Spark version. There we go. This one. So Just Frame Skyrocket is basically another mix-up option that they have. This move right here. That you might duck because of down 3-4. But what I do recommend is get hit by down 3-4. It's okay, but just don't get hit by the Skyrocket. Because this does way too much damage. I think the combo is something like this. I don't know. Shit damage because I did jabs, but yeah, it's very, very good damage basically. So be very afraid of this move. The way you deal with this in general is you try to sidestep it to the left. Because it had slight tracking to the right. I don't know how it is in this game. And it's very hard for me to lap this because I'm so bad doing the Blue Spark version. But sidestep left usually will work. But sidestep right is a little bit iffy because of the Blue Spark version. There we go. That little bit of tracking, right? That just happened. I think the Blue Spark version has a little bit more tracking. I'm not quite sure. But sidestep left is what works against this, usually. So if you want to sidestep this, sidestep left. But if you want to sidestep something like a 3-4, especially after like RFF down forward 4, or those kind of situations when he's in right flamingo, then you can sidestep to the right. So you have to be very careful about this move. And especially be careful about this move on block. Let me actually try to do it once, just so I can demonstrate the block situation. There we go. First try. Nice. So the block situation here is actually pretty messed up. Especially if you're backdashing in the neutral and you block this. Let's say you're just backdashing and you block it at like pip range. Let me just try to demonstrate that. Pip range. There we go. Something like this, right? This might happen in the neutral when you just block this in pip range and it's -8, but the pushback is what you need to really consider. That's why you might see a lot of Hwoarang players do just frame skyrocket, and on block they just sidestep immediately. Even though sidestepping is not that good in -8 situations, they will sidestep because of this pushback. The reason they do it, I don't know if they do it consciously or not, most likely they are, right? Because they know what they're doing. Is because when you want to check people in -8 or high minus situations, so they don't sidestep, you usually do something fast. Still, take a follow. Something like a jab, right? Something like a 2 jab, something like generic down forward 1, something like that. But, Emperor, take a follow. But in the pushback situation, all of your fast moves just whiff. They just purely whiff. So, yeah, be very, very careful about that. Be very careful. What else am I supposed to mention? Did I forget something, guys? Let me actually remember a little bit before I go into heat, right? I just didn't mention heat at all. Before I go into heat, let me see if I forgot something. I mentioned down forward 1, the 1-2s. While standing 3 I mentioned. Some other stuff is like knowledge checking, basically. Just so you have to be knowledgeable, like 2 into transition, like 2 jab also transitions into flamingos, right? Normal 2 jab. They might catch you with this, but this is something you have to lap, basically. And get used to. And the strings in general as well. Okay, let's actually transition into heat. So, let's talk about heat, Hwoarang in heat. So Hwoarang in heat, just like every other character, gets access to heat dashes, and one of the most common heat dashes is left flamingo forward 3, I already showcased this being a heat move, or down forward 3+4, all of this, right? And this guarantees something, so be very careful when it comes to these 2 moves. Remember they're heat moves and can transition into heat dash. I think those 2 are the most common. I don't think there's anything else. I kind of forgot anything else, gonna be honest. But now let's talk about the heat smash. The Hwoarang's heat smash is, in my opinion, very, very strong. So it's a mid, right? Bum, 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 mid, high, +11, transitions to the right flamingo. And you're basically gonna get mixed in the same way that you're gonna get mixed after down 3-4 on hit. It's a little bit less plus, but it's basically the same way. So what he can do is any of the options I just mentioned, but I mentioned a while ago when I was talking about right flamingo, he has all of those options available to him in this situation. In plus frame, +11 situation, basically. So you can be afraid of the hell sweep, you can be afraid of the +5 jab, be afraid of the down forward 4 that might counter hit you. All those options that I just mentioned, he can do them. So be careful about the mix-ups. You're just basically getting mixed up. And the thing about this move, why I think it's very, very strong, this hit smash, is that on hit, it does 51 damage and it wall splats. This is a wall splatting heat smash, so let me just demonstrate that. At the wall, if you get hit, you are wall splatted. He can tornado after this and deal, I don't know, at least 80 damage from what I know. At least. So you're basically dead now, right? GG, well played. Just because you got hit by a heat smash that's +11 on block. But now let's talk about the biggest issue. Right flamingo down forward 3. Is that tracking move? I might have forgot about that. Let me actually finish the heat smash first. No time for follow. So one of the biggest things about this heat smash though is that when you sidestep this, this is very hard to punish because how far the Hwoarang player flies away. You can actually sidestep this to the left, more or less. But you cannot sidestep this to the right. If you go right, it just tracks. So step it to the left. If you do want to punish this, you have to be very quick. Something like this. And you also have to make sure not to get hit by the third hit. Right? This is how you punish this. How do you cancel flamingos? I mean, you can just press down back. But usually it's just a jab. Usually. You can't like cancel it per se, like down back like this. But it's not really a cancel. They just do a jab. That's the safest thing you can do. Like a one jab when it comes to left flamingo, or two jab when it comes to right flamingo. Okay, so that's about the heat smash. Usually sidestep to the left. If you want to punish it, you have to be very, very close. Other than that, does it have anything like special properties in heat? I kinda forgot. Yeah, nerf heat smash on the whiff. They have to nerf those, especially the ones that run away so far. What special properties does Hwoarang have in heat? Let me just think about it just a little bit. Heat moves, there we go. We already know this. Oh yeah, the Hell Sweep, how did I forget? Down 4-3, yeah, thank you. How did I forget the Hell Sweep and the Flappies? I did mention the Flappies, but I instantly forgot. I talked about so much shit. So yeah, in Hell Sweep, not Hell Sweep, in heat, his Hell Sweep, the right flamingo Hell Sweep, this right here, is basically all guaranteed. So normally he has that option as well. Right flamingo, this has this high as an option, but it's not natural. And in heat, his Hell Sweep becomes natural, basically. All this can also wall splat in certain angles, and it will very consistently wall break. So this can be very, very scary in situations when he has heat and he just does down 3-4 on you, because he suddenly has that Hell Sweep available. The block frames aren't changed, but it's just very, very scary. And the Flappies is also one of the change, is that in right flamingo, I mentioned this move, right? Usually this needs to be counter hit for this to work. But now it's a normal hit launcher. And what that means is something like this on counter hit into that is guaranteed, but only in heat. That was not in heat. That's guaranteed, right? This is super strong, but it's not only that that's guaranteed. Let me go in heat. Something like this is also guaranteed. So his counter hit checks, like down forward 4 that I talked about, gets a launch now, which is super, super strong. And I mean super strong. So be very, very careful about this. But when it comes to RFF forward 4 and forward 4, this right here, I don't think they can confirm this that easily. So they might just throw this out. So maybe sometimes we'll be able to duck it. The normal low can be launched and countered too, but I don't know what. Oh, this, I already mentioned this. This one right here. It is a launcher on countered. Okay, what else? I've already mentioned all this. The 4-3, maybe I should mention the right flamingo 4-3 just a bit. But not a lot of Hwoarang players use this. Basically, they don't need to use this. That's why you don't see this. But he has a 20 frame homing move from it. Is there anything else I forgot for hate? So Hell Sweep and Flappy Kicks. I think those are the big ones. Okay. I think that's about it. I think that's about it for Hwoarang. Let me see how long this took. Okay, this actually took less than Azucena. I'm kind of surprised. But I'm actually not surprised as well. I don't know. So yeah, YouTube, big thank you for watching, guys. Big thank you for watching. And I'll see you guys next time.